This is our community's house. We are all guests in here to serve our community. My name is Mike Little, Mayor for the District of North Vancouver, and so the pleasure falls to me to welcome you all here to our regular meeting of Council for November 20th at 7 o'clock. At this point, we want to start the meeting off in a good way, so I'm going to ask call on Councillor Back to read our land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Your Worship. We respectfully acknowledge the original peoples of these lands and waters, specifically the Tsleil-Waututh, Squamish, and Musqueam, on whose unceded ancestral lands the District of North Vancouver is located. We value the opportunity to learn, share, and serve our community on these unceded lands.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Council, we have an agenda that's been circulated. Any errors or omissions from the agenda as presented? Hearing none. Moved by Councillor Murray. Is there a seconder? Second by Councillor Back. We'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carries. Just before we get underway, first I'd like to express my apologies for the late start here for the regular meeting of Council. Our in-camera meeting also had a delay because of that traffic accident on the bridge, and so we needed a little bit more time for our meeting beforehand, and it caused us to be late. So our apologies for that. We definitely want to start promptly on time when we can, just so there's no confusion. But again, our apologies for the late start. At this point, Council, we have we preserve a period for up to 30 minutes at the front end of every regular meeting of Council for an opportunity for members of the community to raise issues of importance to them. And to that end, we do actually create a public speaking list at the front end. And I just wanted to check. Sorry? 7 minutes. 1 set of minutes. Okay, I'll get to that. Yeah, sorry, I missed it. Do you have the list from beforehand? There we go. Thank you very much. So a number of people did sign up ahead of time to speak, and we do have a list of a few speakers for that. I think there's only 2 speakers that have signed up ahead of time. And so after they've completed, then we'll open it up to other members of the public. And so at this time, I'd like to call on Kevin Mahoney, joining us virtually this evening, followed by Bev Parslow in person.
Good evening, Honourable Mayor and Councillors. This is Kevin Mahoney. Can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly. Welcome. You have a little bit louder would be helpful, but mostly clearly. And you have 3 minutes to address the Council. Okay,
good evening. Kevin Mahoney is my name, and I live with my wife, Gail, on Kirkstone Place, adjacent to the Kirkstone artificial field, where we've lived for the past 27 years. Our dwelling is approximately 20 meters from the side of the field. The level of noise disturbance that we've experienced coming from the Kirkstone artificial field in the last 6 to 7 months has become intolerable. This is particularly noticeable between 8 and 10 p.m., where the district has been scheduling adult men to play on the field. It is obvious to me that the district has not been monitoring for disturbances. If they had walked past the field on just about any night between 8 and 10 p.m., they would have noticed the commotion. So in my opinion, the district is either unaware of the issue, believes that the neighbors need to suck it up just because, or schedule anyway and see if there are any complaints. I'm sorry, but the district is going to have to take some action to fix this problem. I am proposing that the district takes 3 actions. 1 is an infrastructure change, the 2nd is a scheduling change, and the 3rd is a rules of play change. Number 1, infrastructure. Put a sound barrier along the section of high fencing between the fence and our property. This would have the effect of dampening the sound that comes from to our property. Number 2, a scheduling change. Change the hours of use of the Kirkstone artificial field from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. This still provides 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it will eliminate the particularly egregious noise disturbances that we are experiencing after 8 p.m. at a time when we would like to enjoy an evening of quiet. Number 3, a rule change. Place a notice on the field disallowing projected audio during matches and practices. The amplified sound does not stop at the wire fence of the field and permeates through our neighborhood. These are my requests, and they are backed up by a hard copy petition signed by myself and 5 of my neighbors. We've got a petition statement, including the action desired, supporting documentation, which includes I've uploaded Google photographs, I've uploaded to Google Photos, video samples of the noise disturbances, signed by myself and other residents, 5 other residents. So I will drop that off at the council meeting. Now, in the remaining time, I'd like to show some examples of the videos taken from our home between October the 26th and November the 19th.
We're out of time for your input. The 3 minutes has elapsed. So if you want to send those videos and pictures to the council, you can do that, and then they'll be able to view those on their own.
Okay, so I can send a soft copy of the petition, which includes a link to those videos. Excellent.
Thank you very much for your comments tonight, Kevin Mahoney. The next speaker that I have is Bev Parslow, joining us here in person. Welcome, Bev. When you're comfortable, you have 3 minutes to address the council.
We're not sure how to work this, so. You okay?
Yeah.
Do you want to do the first slide on?
Yeah.
What assistance can we give? Is it on a thumb drive on the computer?
Oh yeah. Do we have the? Let's try using that. There you go.
Okay, there you go. We may not have an app for that. Is that a?
That's the problem. Yes.
No.
It's not gonna work.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we don't have apps for everything, but I see a YouTube has popped up in the back. Is that what that link was to?
Absolutely not. No.
Okay.
So leave it. Leave it.
Leave it.
Sorry,
Leave it.
the public presentation computer doesn't have access to all files.
Yeah. This is okay. I was hoping to show you the pictures, but our Mac isn't compatible with your system. Mayor and Council, this is the situation under Mosquito Creek Bridge. In the past, all graffiti has been cleaned up, as far as I'm aware, by Miller Capilano in the Ministry of Transportation. This year, the situation seems to have changed. In May, graffiti was getting bad yet again. Contact by email and phone was made to Miller Capilano with many requests to clean it up. Numerous calls were made with answers that, 1, the RCMP were needed to take photos of every piece of graffiti. Okay. Secondly, it was a drug area and a hazardous team had to be brought in to clean it up. And finally, I was told by Miller Capilano that in fact, the Ministry of Transportation were not responsible for the graffiti because it cannot be seen from the road, from the highway. It seems that requests from this district for action to the Ministry of Transportation has just led to long delays and dismissals by the Ministry of Transportation. The district is receiving complaints about the graffiti from the public, but the district staff is not responsible for the cleanup. The situation is leading to what I would term urban decay and a decline in the high standards that we have for our parks and for our environment. The costs of 2 cans of paint and a morning's work is now costing taxpayers more money as the Department of Transportation denies, dismisses, and delays. I'm requesting that perhaps the council could take direct action with the Ministry of Transportation.
Thank you very much for your comments. And if you want to send the pictures electronically, I believe you have sent some pictures already electronically about this overpass. So, but
yeah.
If you want to add some more, then
all right, we'll send them.
Thank you so much.
I'm sorry. Oh, this is one of the grandchildren. So I was giving them an orientation to how municipal government. So, you're right.
I must say, I'm very impressed so far.
Well, you're both welcome. There you go. Okay, so we still have opportunity for public input. I do have a virtual hand raised and a fellow here. I'm actually going to go to you first. Sure, come in here, and then let's move the 2 virtual attendees that have their hands up over to panel, and we'll get to them next.
Hey, Marilyn, how you doing? This is Graham Alexander.
Welcome.
I'm the founder of Stay Runners Worldwide. Basically, I have 3 developments I've done here at council, but I want to talk to you about a really good thing. And by the way, congratulations on your win a few years back. All right. So the first development, Bond, which is the one we acquired, I think for 10 million, we flipped it for $1 million. I can't remember. It's supposed to go to council tomorrow or today. It was delayed. I don't know why, but I flew in from Japan for this, but I wanted to celebrate, didn't happen. Anyways, the second development is the one on Mountain and Keith, which I talked to you already about. I don't know if Kyle's talked to you yet, but that's a situation that we want to talk about, that you guys are building some home there, which is great, okay? The homeless shelter. And the third one is on Crown. But I came here to discuss something that I've been talking to Mayor Sim and his outreach program. And I think you guys are going to be very excited. By the way, I'm an electrical engineer from UBC, a real estate developer, the Bitcoin at delivery, 234 countries. I've come up with a concept to resolve the homeless issue through the mobile hotel. And what it is, I want to present to you, Mayor Little. I talked to your secretary about it. I'm the real thing. I'm a developer. I had my hotel taken away by the Mexican cartels in Tulum, but I'm a fighter. And I'm an entrepreneur, and I want to solve the homeless problem with you because I grew up in district in North Vancouver, not in Vancouver. Now, Mayor Sim, he's an entrepreneur like me. You're a lawyer. I respect that. But listen, you don't like competition. You told me twice about competition. I understand that. You're a good guy. You made it by 1%, but you're here. You made it over the hill. But listen, I come over here with the mobile hotel concept. It is a tent, tricycle, and portable electrical station, which is, you can solve the problem of homeless for a fraction of the penny. Now, I'm an electrical engineer. I've developed these out of India, and it's something real. You're talking to the real thing. Graham Gordon Alexander, real estate developer, entrepreneur. I want to do it with you guys. I have failed on my developments because it takes 6 years to get something approved. I get an Indian, I respect Indians, but I get an Indian Reserve project next to where I was going to build 2 towers, okay? And then my third project, I wanted to, short-term, I can't get anything here at the district. And I grew up here. But I want to do something with you awesome people. For Murray, I've heard a lot about you. Good person. This guy right here, I love you, man. This guy. All right. We want progress. And I'm ready to put on $100 million possibly into my city one day. And I'm telling you, right with you right now, I can do it, but I need to work with you guys. And I'm going to work with Ken Sim, I'll work with him. But if you can't give me the benefit to work on a mobile hotel project here, that's all I want to say.
Thank you very much for your comments, Graham Alexander. Next, we have 2 virtual participants who've been moved over. So I'm going to go to Hazen Colbert first, followed by Corey Cost. Hazen Colbert, can you hear me?
Mr. Little, sorry, Mayor Little, can you hear me?
Clearly, welcome. You have 3 minutes to address the council.
Thank you, Mayor Little. There are a number of things that are going on across the district of North Vancouver that I would like to speak to you tonight, but I'm going to focus only tonight with respect to the proposed budget, which is a 7.1% increase in taxation next year. What my concern is not whether 7.1% is right or wrong. It's who's going to pay the 7.1%. You see, all of you on council have received my correspondence where I have noted that people that live in multiple urban residential buildings, they're called MURBs, and more specifically stratas, are paying a massive subsidy to people that are living in single-family homes with respect to water rates. I live in a condo, one person, in the strata, one person in the strata, I pay $700. And I want to tell you, I'm rounding the number. I pay approximately $700 a month. $700 a year for water. And because Mayor Little, you and I have had what I will call genuine discussions about these issues, and so there's no acrimony. You live in a house with 5 people, and you're paying about $850 a month for the same water. That doesn't seem to work out fair to me. But there is a bigger issue that's coming along, and it is the North Shore wastewater treatment plant. And what really disturbs me and what really scares the heck out of me is that people living in a 1-person, 1-bedroom or junior 1-bedroom or a studio strata will find themselves paying the same amount of money as a person and a family living in a single family home with 5, 6, or 7 people. This is a problem. We have to create a system in which people pay based on their use, not based on the type of home they live in. I thank you, Mayor Little, and thank all of you, Council.
Thank you for your comments, Hazen Colbert. The next speaker I have is Corey Cost, also joining us virtually this evening. Welcome, Dr. Cost.
Good evening.
Can you hear me?
I hope you can see what I'm about to share as well. It's a very short presentation. Basically, at about this time of the year, I look at my historical use of taxes from the district, all different categories from about 1974 to the present day. So what I've shown here, and you might be able to see on the screen, I hope. Maybe I should expand it and view it in full screen mode, and that might appear larger. It's the utility taxes from 1979 to 2024. And I've included the 2024 cost because it's in the package, as noted on page 4 of the utility rates, or page 18 of the full package for this evening. And so it's clear, and this is all corrected for the equal dollar values throughout the years. In other words, the consumer price index has been folded in year by year to correct. The actual payment was like $20 or $30 in terms of the earlier years, but scaling it up for so that we can compare apples to apples. This has been the real change in real dollars, today's dollars, year 2024, which is proposed to be $2,172.10 for the single family utility costs. So I just want to caution council that we're again repeating the sort of takeoff. We had a leveling period between 2015 to 2020, but now it's starting to go quite a bit higher. So I caution council that our municipal taxes, driven in this particular case by Metro Vancouver, are becoming quite burdensome to many people. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments, Corey Cost. Okay, would anybody else like to address the council? I see no further interest in that, so we're going to carry on with the meeting. I neglected to bring forward the meeting minutes from the October 23rd special meeting of council. Any errors or omissions from those meeting minutes as presented in the package? Hearing none, it's been moved by Councillor Murray. Is there a seconder on the matter? Second by Councillor Back. Call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carries. All right, Council, resuming to the regular business this evening. We have the first item up for discussion. It's is the 2024 utility rates. And so I'm going to look to Mr. Daniluk. Would you have opening comments on the matter? Your microphone's not on. There we go.
Apologies. The district's utility rates are reviewed annually to ensure we're able to maintain our utility infrastructure in a state of good repair and to flow through Metro Vancouver's water, liquid waste, and solid waste charges. Metro Vancouver's charges are currently represent approximately 50% of our total costs, and this portion of our utility bill is expected to grow substantially over the next 10 years. As Metro Vancouver has not updated some of their major projects, including the new North Shore wastewater treatment plant, their charges are generally in line with their prior year estimates for 2024. The analysis for this year has set the combined utility rate increase on the average home at just over 7% for 2024, or about $131 for the year.
Thank you very much. Council, any, I'll be moving the staff recommendation. Is there a seconder on the matter? Seconded by Councillor Hanson. That's my own comments. It's we're obviously up against significant challenges with Metro Vancouver in terms of upgrading many of the services all in a very narrow period of time. Sewerage area, just as an example, the normal course would be to be updating them as facilities aged out and sort of doing it in a step-by-step process, but federal legislation forced the hand of the liquid waste partners all across the country and set dates on when they had to upgrade their service to a high level of service, which meant that Metro Vancouver was simultaneously doing significant upgrades on all of their facilities, which has led us to a very major capital expenditure in Metro Vancouver for the upgrade of Northwest Langley, Annacis, Iona, and North Shore wastewater treatment plant. And you're seeing it in the utilities. And unfortunately, the projection is still that that number is going to be rising at a manner dramatically higher than CPI projected forward in order to be able to cover the cost of that. You know, when you talk about the sewerage sub area as an example, it was for us an average home was about $420, and you know I do have to go out and defend to some degree the value that we get from Metro Vancouver for these utility services at $420. Imagine, if you will, that you flushed your toilet and it didn't go away from your house. Does $420 to cover all of the sewerage services for your house for an entire year sound like a pretty good deal? It is a pretty good deal. And that's why we work together as a region to bring these services forward. Water, similarly, you actually were comparing the water rates, and you talk about a 4 liter jug of water costing you about $2.50. Well, the value you get in water from Metro Vancouver is about 100 times that in terms of clean drinking potable water. And so there's no question in my mind, we get very good value for service. The challenge is going to be, we've been nursing the golden years out of some aging infrastructure. And now that we're pressed to move to higher levels of service in terms of better disinfection on the water side, better treatment so that the effluent is of a higher quality leaving the facilities, that is going to cost us a tremendous amount of money, but it is, in my view, the right thing to be doing. But this is where we see it, is the effect is on our utility bills in the community. So I do support this in general. I still think we get good value for service from Metro Vancouver for our utilities, and I'll be moving this. All three pieces, yes, sorry. And so the seconder was Councillor Hanson, and then Councillor Murray. Councillor Hanson, your comments?
Yeah, thank you very much. Happy to support all three as well. I agree that we get
reasonable value for services if we articulate it in the way that you described. However, at the commencement of this meeting, we were told that in inflation adjusted terms, utility rates have increased 5 times in the last 40 years. So, and we're talking now about 7% increases that are placed onto these already existing high rates. So it is certainly a matter that we take very seriously. The outlier, as you pointed out, is the liquid waste and all of the issues there, North Shore wastewater treatment plant, and the potential, of course, down the road for very significant additional costs associated with that, which could, which will have the effect of increasing our utility rates significantly going forward. So this is an issue we obviously need to take very seriously. I would like to point out that the finance staff will be very proactive in assembling reserves that will assist in the stabilization of these impacts. And I think credit has to be given there for that foresight. Tens of millions of dollars have been set aside for the benefit of district residents to blunt the impacts of these increases, and that we're very fortunate that that foresight was in place. Beyond that, happy to support with the caveat that we do need to keep a careful eye on this issue going forward.
Thank you, Councillor Hanson. Councillor Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor Little. I can't help but reflect on Mr. Joyce's tenure in this municipality, and probably when he entered, as he's on the eve of his potentially very short retirement. He came into this organization where infrastructure projects probably were in the tens of millions of dollars, and the majority of his career, they began to rise to hundreds of millions of dollars. And as he leaves this municipality after decades running the ship for our engineering services, we are looking at infrastructure projects that cost billions and billions of dollars. And when you think about the province of British Columbia, you know, we're a relatively small province and half of the population sits in the region, Metro Vancouver. And so a very small population paying for a very huge bill in regards to infrastructure that is being built to support growth. It's supporting the age of the infrastructure, but it's also being built for future growth. And Metro Vancouver is very clear that growth is not playing for growth in the region, and it needs to. So the DCCs have been supported, water DCCs, and the majority of the board are supporting that, which is good. I'm happy about that. And the conversations in regards to those DCCs, there was a good debate about it, but ultimately they stood the support of the majority. You know, when we talk about the tax increase, potentially at 7%, I know staff's working on trying to get that number down to 5, or so I hope, closer to 5 than closer to 7. We are needing to remember that it's the cumulative totals that is what the taxpayer pays. Ottawa is not bringing any more money to the table. There's no definite funding strategy for Iona. That project is starting at 10 billion. By the time it's built, it'll probably inflate to nearly double that. There's just no money, or maybe there is, but they're not giving it to us. Even the cost formula for it has been the subject of some criticism over the years, and we need to sort of get a handle on that. Then we have the challenge with our own sewage treatment plant here on the North Shore, and the mayor will be part of a task force that will delve into that and put forward some policy and recommendations to the board so that we're in a better place going forward. It's something that the Board of Metro Vancouver is very, very concerned about, and how it will impact other areas. Of course, we always have to be the example, and but I know that the mayors of West Van, the city, and the district will work hard on our behalf. But it's the cumulative totals that we always have to remember, and it's not just what we're paying at the property taxes, the utility taxes for Metro. It's the school taxes, it's the cost of fuel, it's the cost of groceries, it's the cost of living, which is We've never seen it this high before. It's an unsustainable system that we're living in my opinion. And I think we have to live within our means before we start expanding. And we're spending a lot of money. And the municipality is spending a lot of money. Metro's spending a lot of money, but the district's spending a lot of money too. And I really think we have to go back to that, that perspective that we have to get our own house in order first. And sometimes we can't have everything that we want. I'll take my second 2 minutes. I assume, Mayor Little, that all three of the utilities you want us to speak to now?
Yes, please.
Okay. So those are my points on the concept of the utilities and where we're going with them right now. We can certainly, as residents in the municipality, we can defer our property taxes, but we have to pay the utility bill. So many people take advantage of the deferral process that the provincial government allows on your property bill. But the utilities need to be paid. And for some, the utilities is getting close to what the property taxes are. I will make a comment about the sewer bylaw because I have raised the issue in regards to the trigger that requires a sewer connection on renovations. Our trigger this year was 150,000 and staff are recommending up to 200,000. I personally would like it to go up to 300,000, but I've spoken to Mr. Rooney today. We had a good conversation in our engineering and utility department. And I do understand that we are trying to deal with a problem and we're trying to incrementally improve sewage loss by replacing the connections to the main line from our single families. But again, it's that incremental cost and everything has gone up. So the difference that between the trigger going from $150,000 to $200,000 and the difference of construction costs last year or 2 years ago or 3 years ago and today is a lot more than $50,000. It is labor, it is the supply chain, it is the cost of it's just being on the North Shore, it goes up 25%. So those costs of trying to, I'm running out so fast, those costs of trying to maintain that livability and look at renovation of single family homes rather than complete tear downs, which is far more environmentally responsible than tearing them all down and starting over again, taking something, a smaller footprint and expanding it to meet the needs of your family, I think is far more responsible. And I'm glad to see that we're going in that direction. But I am going to keep an eye on this 200,000 because next year maybe we need to raise it again. I know what we're trying to achieve, but we also have to find that balance with the costs of being able to live in this community, and they're exceptional. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. Councillor Forbes, your comments?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just if I could get Mr. Danielek to explain or clarify for the listeners and for me, the sewer levy on page 16 of the package, page 2 of the utility rates. There's a major jump in 2025. And I'm thinking that has to do with some more of the infrastructure that will be coming online in 2025.
Through Your Worship, Councillor Forbes, can you confirm which page you're looking at?
Page 16 of the package, page 2 of 8.1. Utility rates.
Thank you. So if we're looking at the 41.4% increase?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this comes directly out of the materials that we're supporting Metro Vancouver's 2024 to 2028 financial plan. It largely reflects the capital investment that they're making
Infrastructure.
in that year, the infrastructure investment for that year. There has been some subtle changes, but generally speaking, their forecast is unchanged.
So when I look,
Mr. Joyce has additional comments.
oh,
Just to add to Councillor Mayor and Councillor Forbes' comments, about an engineer's career, you can go an entire career and not build a wastewater treatment plant. And this region is putting in 2 now. So Nicola here may say 2, while other engineers haven't seen any. My predecessor didn't see 1. So those are generational type projects. Secondly, when I was started this, Metro's charges were 25%. They're now north of 50% of our budget. But for council, our crews are held to the same standard and cost increases as the other departments of the utility side. So a lot of what I see in front of here is driven by Metro Vancouver.
Thank you.
I just wanted to confirm that I thought it was infrastructure and that's what it is. Maybe the mayor can answer. It goes in 2025 from 41.4% down to 2.2% 3 years later. Is that a reflection of Metro's formula and how they amortize costs?
Yes, but it's again, you're not giving that gain back in each subsequent year by going up at an earlier rate. They're actually collecting more through each of those years. So even though it looks like a modest increase at the end, that's really an accounting for a projected CPI more than anything else, I would say, during that time, which I think that's optimistic. But Mr. Daniluk?
Metro Vancouver has explored applying stabilization from their side. They're just not doing it. So what you're really seeing is just a direct flow through of their charges. And there's definitely peaks and valleys, as you can see. They haven't refreshed a lot of the major infrastructure projects in their capital plan. I think that's why you see the outer years declining as much as that.
Because they haven't refreshed it.
No.
Is it also tied to how they amortize their costs though? Because we're taking that huge hit in 2025.
It's really just the cash flow from the major infrastructure projects. So those are the peaks and valleys. And
Okay.
we'll see likely a refresh of this capital plan in April when the board gets back together to look at those major infrastructure projects.
Okay, any other comments on the matter?
Given the province's recent announcement in regards to single-family lots and the increase of density to those lots, and how will the infrastructure be impacted by that, Mr. Joyce? And are we going to be having a discussion about that, or what will staff be able to present to us in regards to basically doubling the sprawl in the region and throughout the province?
Through your worship, Mr. Milburn actually is in front of council December the 5th and will be part of that presentation in council. But there will be certainly challenges. And right now within the region, both metro engineers and municipal engineers all around are looking at modeling to see what that impact will be. But Nicola may have some more comments to that effect.
Just to add to that, staff is looking at the impact of that. The planning is rolling out what those changes are going to be, and in engineering, we are assessing what that will be, and we expect that there'll be a need to model all of our utilities and update our bylaws in response to that. So we are expecting some significant impacts to our utility systems.
Will we be looking at the OCPs and the Metro Vancouver, Metro 2050, for instance, that model density within the region versus now what we are being presented with, which is density throughout municipalities?
Through your worship, we're probably getting a little ahead of ourselves, but absolutely. And Metro needs to lead first. And a real example could be, we just replaced the pipes through Edgemont Village. And now, not North Vancouver, but with infill development in Vancouver and Burnaby, and we are a flow-through municipality, we may have to increase more mains in those areas to actually feed the provincial plans in these municipalities. So there's a very quick deep dive on the modeling that needs to be done to answer these questions around water distribution systems and your sewer system, especially the sanitary sewer system.
Thank you very much, Mr. Joyce. And thank you, Councillor Murray. Council, I see, Mr. Stewart, do you have additional comments?
Your worship, just a brief comment. I was at a meeting last week. Metro has started to do some of the modeling. We're going to be reporting to council not only on the capital budget, but on the legislation that's before us. They're very, very related, and it's certainly going to affect our work plans going into 2024 in terms of truly understanding the impact on our, not only our infrastructure, but also our planning processes. So we'll be reporting back.
That'll obviously be an impact on a significant impact on our work plan. Are we planning for a public update on that perhaps in January, or what's your timeline for doing a public update on the effect on the work plan?
Your worship will be referring to that in Dan's presentation. But I wouldn't imagine that we'll have a really good handle on that until the new year.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, all right, council, I'm prepared to call the question on the motion, which has been moved and seconded. And that's for all three pieces of 8.1. Okay, call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carries. Thank you very much, council. Moving on to item 8.2. This is the amendments to North Vancouver Recreation and Culture Commission establishing bylaw and delegation bylaw. And Mr. Stewart, you have some opening comments on the matter?
Your worship, we've been working with our partner, the City of North Vancouver, on a number of issues relating to the Recreation and Culture Commission. The first of these to come forward before council is just to deal with the governance. The commission has, in fact, looked at ways to improve engagement and feel, given some of the issues that we're going to be wrestling with over the next couple of years, that a change in the governance model makes more sense at this point. One of the examples of the other issues that we'll be wrestling with probably in 2024 is the cost sharing model, for example, as well as issues around reporting and how we track usage. So there's a lot of really meaty subjects, and it was felt that a change in the governance model, as well as a change in the engagement approach, would both complement one another and allow us to move forward. Because at the end of the day, it really is the two councils and the two communities that are paying for this joint service.
But at this point, the city is doing a matching bylaw change to what we're considering here tonight.
That's correct.
Thank you very much. Councillor Murray, your comments and a motion, if you please.
I'll move the recommendation.
Thank you. I'll second.
Thank you.
Go ahead, your comments.
Yes, and the City of North Vancouver, I believe, is considering the same bylaw this evening, is my understanding. And so everything evolves and everything changes over time. And, you know, the Rec Commission has had over 50 years of existence in its current model, although it has changed over the years. Certainly since I've been elected, we've had a couple of changes in regards to the cost sharing model. That Mr. Stewart's been here for all of it. It's been it's a model unlike no other model in this country. The Rec Commission and dual municipality operating a recreational facility. Heather Turner, our director, who comes from Regina, has worked in the field for decades, and she always commented that it was one of the most unique and successful models. It's a seamless delivery of service to our citizens, our community, and all those that come from outside to use our facilities, of which they are numerous in the district and the city, including the cultural aspect of the Rec Commission. And so as Mr. Stewart pointed out, a governance model, there was a need to change because it is a well-oiled machine, the Rec Commission. And at the time when the commission was brought together, because it was so unique and two very different municipalities, there was a need to have, you know, much broader representation. I think over the years, the Rec Commission and the two municipalities have recognized that we use all sorts of different ways to communicate and outreach to the local community, and we want to do more of that. So this model is more of a committee than a commission, and it will be made up of the elected representatives and staff members, and that is where generally most of the work goes. Currently, you know, in fact, all of the reports, except for some of the grants and certainly the budget work, all flows through the Rec Commission, but ultimately comes to council for final approval. So, you know, one must ask yourselves, we want to make sure that we're giving value to those that are part of the commission, and it has evolved, and it's time for a change in a new direction. So I wholeheartedly support this, and I look forward to any questions that council may have. Thank you
very much. Yeah, and I also support this as a former member of the Recreation Commission. I mean, there's still, throughout the organizations and throughout the facilities, there's still lots of opportunities for the public to be involved, either through the facility level community partners like Parkgate Community Association, CAP Community Services, and other partners that we may have. Plus also, lots of the facilities develop their own weight room user groups and other advisory groups that give them commentary when there's different equipment changes that are going on in the facilities. And so there's still lots of opportunity for public input from people who have a direct interest in those facilities as well. So I'm supportive of this and look forward to making the change.
Can I just, I was remiss in just wanting to thank all of those commissioners over the years that have been part of the commission. You know, they've worked really hard, and certainly the Parkgate bylaw was one of Mr. Stewart crafted that one, and it was one of the first of its kind on the North Shore, and they were invaluable to the process. And so we are grateful for their contribution and their volunteering.
Thank you very much, Councillor Miri. Very fair of you to say there. Definitely people have contributed an immense amount of time and talent to supporting this organization. I think back on the number of the members I served with on the Rec Commission over those years, and the relationships and friendships we've maintained going forward. It's great to see people have such buy-in in the recreation services, and I look forward to them supporting the community groups as well. Councillor Ma.
I'm going to probably say a lot of the same things. Prior to being on council, I too was appointed to the North Van Rec and Culture Commission. I support the change. And I also look forward to the commission creating alternate ways for public engagement, which I know Heather will do. So like I said, I support this. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I see no further speakers on the matter. Prepared to call the question. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carries. Thank you very much, Council. Next item up for discussion is item 8.3. This is the grant funding application for Main Street Cycling Link westbound CNB border to Harbour Avenue. We have any opening? We have no comments from staff. This is just a grant application this time. I don't know, anyone else make comments? Okay.
Through your worship, this is a grant application. So we're looking at doing this work next year, 2024, on Main Street. To bridge the bike pathway that connects with the city of North Vancouver and is on the north side of Main Street between North and Lynn.
And just, I'm happy to move. Oh, sorry, Councillor Back, would you like to make a motion? You just second it. Councillor Back, your comments?
Just to say that, yeah, very supportive of this grant funding application, and happy to see that this project will be moving forward fairly shortly. This is one of the more hairy sections of cycling in the district. It's certainly a tricky area to navigate, and so be glad to see any improvements that can be made here. And I hope we're successful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Back. And yes, wherever reasonably possible, we want to partner with different agencies who have an interest in these matters moving ahead and share the costs wherever we reasonably can. So I'm supportive of this grant application. Councillor Pope, your comments?
I'm also supportive of the application, but I just have one question about the process, which is why does a question of whether staff applies for a grant or not have to come before council? Like, really, have we ever voted against an application for a grant? Like, shouldn't it be just an automatic? Shouldn't we allocate that to staff?
I think sometimes the hope is that with the raw enthusiasm of council supporting it, that's something they can hand over to the partners and say it's fully supported.
In many cases, the partners want to see a resolution so that they know if in fact they're going to make the grant, it's being supported by the council, then it'll go forward.
Okay.
And the raw enthusiasm bit too. Yeah. Okay, I see no further speakers on the matter. Prepared to call a question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carries. But it is fair, Councillor Pope, we actually can consent those items if you if that's the will of council. We can do it that way. Okay, council, moving on to item 8.4. This is the 2023 Community Heritage Grants, and looking at planning for opening comments.
Good evening.
Ms. Adams.
Thanks. My name is Holly Adams and I work in the Community Planning Department. I can give a quick 1-minute overview. So the Community Heritage Grants program has helped to promote heritage conservation in the district since 2009. And that's been done through providing financial assistance for renovations and maintenance to residential homes. And those are homes listed on the district's heritage inventories or the Community Heritage Register. And in 2020, as some might remember, the eligible types of projects were expanded to offer funding towards more than just residential home renos. And more funding was also made available for these projects. So now applicants can receive a range of $1,000 to $10,000 based on the grant category, the heritage status of the property, and value of the project proposed. And that's in comparison to the previous $500 maximum before the program changes. So this year, the District Heritage Advisory Committee is recommending 13 heritage grants for a variety of projects. So we've got 10 under the heritage conservation category for various building renovations or property repairs, 2 under our heritage planning category, which is for preparing heritage documents like a conservation and maintenance plan for the property. And then we've got 1 under our heritage awareness and education category. In this case, it's for sending out a heritage community newsletter. And this year, there's $28,347 being requested to be awarded, with $1,894 of that coming out from the Community Heritage Grants Fund, which is separately managed by the North Shore Community Foundation. Thanks, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hanson, I see your hand. Do you have a motion? Thank you very much. Councillor Muir, your second. Thank you very much. Councillor Hanson, your comments.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation, Ms. Adams. I sit as council representative on the Heritage Advisory Committee, and I have personally witnessed the painstaking work of that committee in selecting these projects for these grants. Of course, there was a potential budget of $52,000, and only approximately half of that was awarded this year. So going forward, we do hope to see more applications for grants. I would note that the heritage grants only represent a portion of the committee's work in preserving heritage in the district. And going forward, not only would we like to see more of these grant applications, but we also hope to see on the committee greater efforts broadly to preserve heritage in the district. Once heritage is lost, of course, it's lost forever. So I would like to congratulate everyone involved in these grants, thank the staff and the committee and the homeowners for everything that's being done. And as I say, look forward to a future where we expand our efforts with respect to protection of heritage in the district. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hanson. Councillor Murray.
Thank you. I just have a couple of questions, but what's the total amount that's held with the North Shore Community Foundation?
I could speak to that.
For heritage.
Ms. Adams.
So this year it's $1,894, and that will fluctuate depending on the value of the fund.
Okay, so we're pulling 1,894 from the Heritage Foundation?
Yes.
Or from the North Shore Community Foundation? Oh, that's the.
Yes, sorry. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, that's the.
That's what's available for this year, yes.
And then, is that a separate fund within the foundation for heritage?
Foundation, and then the district itself has our own community heritage grants budget, which is the 52,000 available for this year.
Right. You know what would be interesting? Maybe we have a presentation at some point with the North Shore Foundation. I don't think we've ever had them. Maybe once when they were.
Yeah, no, I can definitely reach out to Mike Bohm. We definitely partner on a number of
We
events in the
do.
community, but I don't recall us having them out to talk about.
How the fund, like, you know, just the fund in general, right? I think that would be really interesting. Yeah, thank you for the report and thank you for the graph and how we laid it out. That was very clear.
And sorry, I can just quickly say, so that fund is at $54,114.
Okay, there we go. That's a good number to have. Okay. Thank you for that. But I think it is important for us to have that presentation from them anyway, just to talk about it. But it does, as Councillor Hampson lays out, that you know, once heritage is gone, it's gone forever. And we have lost, unfortunately, some properties that I think we didn't want to lose over the years. We toured a beautiful home in Edgemonte this summer, beautiful postmodern that had been renovated. It was stunning. Furniture had all been built by the original owner. And I was very impressed by the fact that the original house, when it was built, it had heated floors through water. Like, it was amazing, right? And but the cost of I think, years ago, we would talk about, the grants because they were so minimal and we're moving up in the right direction, but we could probably go a lot more. But, a doorknob for a heritage house costs, way more than any of the doorknobs in our homes. And it is a labor of love that you take on one of these properties. And we're so grateful to those that do. But we really do need to protect it because it is such an important part of our heritage and it's such an important piece of our history, architectural design, and the pioneers that brought those. Arthur Erickson, certainly we've had architects that have been influenced by Frank Lloyd Wright, et cetera. So it's something that we always have to continue to keep an eye on and to make sure that we support it efficiently and responsibly. And I'm happy to support these grants. I wish we could give them more.
Thank you very much. I see no further speakers on the matter. I'm prepared to call the question.
Trying to be optimistic.
Call the question. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carries. Council, we have an addenda. This is item 8.5, and I did just want to make a comment about it's not our practice to normally do late additions to our agenda. There usually has to be a good reason for it, as in something urgent or emergent causing it to need to be added at a late stage to that. And I was just going to go to, I believe, Mr. Daniluk, you had a comment on the nature of this and why this was a late addition.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, we were contacted by the province following the introduction of the loan authorization bylaw, and they had additional requirements, and those requirements must be met before the end of the year. So we were required to bring it back to council for the administrative change.
Mr. Stewart?
Your Worship, all they really did is rather than total it with one total, they've asked us to split it between the two projects. That's a very, very minor one, but we can surely do that.
All right. Mr. Daniluk, did you have further comments on the loan authorization? Okay. All right, Council. I'll be moving the recommendation. Is there a seconder on the matter? Second by Councillor Murray. I have no further comments on it. I mean, this is obviously something we have to do. These are things we've committed to, and we have to pay for them appropriately. And in some cases, that means a component of it being borrowing. And so I'll be supporting the recommendation. Councillor Murray, seconder, any comments? Okay, I see no further speakers. Prepared to call the question on the motion. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carries. Thank you very much, Council, for covering the reports tonight. Do we have any additional individual reports that members of Council would like to make? Councillor Murray.
I was just going to report on our Remembrance Day at Kate's Park this year. It was a really good turnout. The sun came out. It was lovely for Remembrance Day. And there was a lot of, again, Kate's Park is a really good family-oriented event program. Councillor Hanson and Councillor Pope and I were happy to lay the wreath in front of the monument at Kate's Park. And yeah, it was lovely. Grows every year. Really good.
I wanted to make two quick reports. One about the announcement from TransLink on bus rapid transit. So last week it was announced that out of all of the projects that were identified by Metro Vancouver or by TransLink, that the bus rapid transit from Metrotown to Park Royal was identified as one of the projects that will be approved. Now, what that means is I think there were something like 9 bus rapid transit oriented projects. That means we were in the top 3 in terms of projects that were advanced. That doesn't mean the funding is entirely sorted out between the 3. And really the 3 projects represent very different spectrum. One project will be about $50 million to implement. One will be about $100 million to implement. Ours is about $150 million to implement. It's more complex, it's a challenge, but it's still had this overwhelming support from the region that it was an absolutely necessary project going forward. One of the advantages of bus rapid transit is that as it's being built, you can take advantage of it. It doesn't have to be, you can do it in portions, and you can have the other bus services take advantage of the space that they have set aside for them as well. And what it really does is it helps you set aside the land and the space for potentially an even higher level of service in future, which by year 8 of the mayor's 10-year vision, it's contemplated that TransLink will produce a business case and plan for a rapid transit connection to the North Shore, possibly light rail, possibly SkyTrain, possibly a mix of technologies. And so it's critically important for us to start setting aside some of the space to be able to do that kind of a project. And this BRT provides us that opportunity to do so. It is going to be an extremely high level of service. We're talking about 60-foot buses every 8 minutes for up to 19 hours of the day. It will have set aside stations and stops with more amenities to make it more comfortable for travelers moving through the community. You'll be able to tell when the next one is going to be coming very easily. And so hopefully people, as they're driving by these stations, will see that the next bus can occur in a very, very short period of time, and that they'd be better off taking public transit in many cases to get around the community. Particularly in instances like today, unfortunately.
And they
where,
lift off when there's a accident on the bridge?
They cannot address the issue on the bridge deck, unfortunately, but still they will get a massive bump in terms of accessibility across the North Shore. Even during incredibly busy conditions, they will still be able to move. And that's one of the issues that Bus Rapid Transit why it's so critical to have separate spaces for it, is because your costs are driven by how many buses it takes you to achieve those time performance issues. And so if there's congestion means you have to just keep putting more and more and more buses on it. So you're running the system extremely inefficiently. And so we all have a vested interest in seeing buses be able to move freely across our community, because it actually lowers our bills for transit in the community on an operating basis, because you don't have to have a bus sitting and staring at the bus that's supposedly 8 minutes away from it, but you can still see it, right? It's because it's all stuck in congestion.
Is there funding?
This is so TransLink has already been doing the planning with the province. The province has partnered with them on funding the planning for the project. As far as actual funding for the infrastructure, it's still a work in progress. What has to happen is what's called an investment plan. And this is now one of the approval steps required to put it in an investment plan. So it will now go into the investment plan. And then you have to identify all of the sources of funding that are going to fund that tranche of work that's been in that specific investment plan. I will actually be going to Ottawa on November 27th to 29th, specifically to address this issue for TransLink with federal finance counterparts. They have a significant fund called PTIF, the Permanent Transit Investment Fund, and PTIF is not accessible to us until 2026. We'd like to get this work started and progressing a lot sooner than 2026. And so we're going to be applying pressure to see if we can get the federal government to commit to specific projects ahead of time. And that way we'll be able to get the project funded, built and underway, and hopefully open and operating in 2027. And so, but it's critically important for us to get the financing dollars sorted out ahead of time for that. But work in progress. We'll do more updates as we reach the different milestones throughout the project. But I thought it was great to see that announcement take place this last week. It's the biggest issues facing our community is transportation infrastructure and access through transit. And this is a significant investment from the region in transit into accessing the North Shore. The other report I wanted to pass along, Councillors Ma, Pope, and Back and I were able to participate in the Pemberton Heights Community Association meeting that they had the other day. And it was so great to fill out the Cornerstone restaurant with all the neighbors, introducing the new people from the community to people who had been around for 20, 30, 40 years in the community. I think the biggest number I heard was what, 67? Someone said that they had been in Pemberton Heights for 67 years. Just to welcome new people into the community and talk about what's important to them as a community association and group. And it was really great to see that vibrancy in that organization. So I wish them all good luck. We also in that passed along one of our council awards and recognitions for the volunteer work of David Drew. David has for the last 13 years been maintaining the gardens in around Ashdown Park. And he does a fantastic job of cleaning that up every year and making it look beautiful for the community. And so we decided to give him a recognition for his incredible work and volunteer time in the community. So thank you, Councillor Ma, for your participation in that as well, for speaking at it. So, okay, any other reports? Councillor Ma?
Thank you, Mayor Little. On Friday night, I had the honor of representing the district at FANS, which is Fund for Arts of the North Shore. It was a great celebration. Many wonderful artists across the North Shore, from recognized by the city, recognized by the West Vancouver mayors. They were also there. And it was a really good time, and it kind of follows up on the North Vancouver Rec and Culture Commission. Like, you know, we really need to support the arts on the North Shore. There were two distinguished artists that received awards that night. Jill Anhalt for public art, and also a musician called Colin James. So
Oh, lovely.
It was a really fun night, and maybe I'll get to go back next year. So thank you.
Was Colin there?
No, he was on tour, but he did send a video. So it was great.
Just came back to say goodbye, but he didn't.
Oh.
Yes, no. Would any other member of council like to make a report? Hearing none, I will accept adjournment. Thank you very much, Councillor Murray. On behalf of the council, I want to thank all the staff for the work they've done preparing the reports for our consideration this evening. I want to thank members of the public for participating through the evening, and on my behalf, thank you to members of council for the decisions that you've made tonight. Have a great evening, and we'll see you next week. And for the council members, we've recessed a meeting, so we need to return to complete that meeting.